Page 280, third paragraph on the page. And we were talking about that it says, Geffen Mitzrayim Tasiya, that the Yidden are likened to a vine, that a vine improves when you transport it and transplant it in a different place. And we likened it to the Yidden, that they reach a higher level, their descent into Golus, their traveling brings them to an ascent to a higher level by being transplanted somewhere else. And we said it's in a way of Nasa before Nishma, because even with all the explanations, all the ways of understanding what benefits a Yid gets from going in Golus and being away from the land that's Eini Hashem al-Kechaba, that the eyes of Hashem, your God, is in it, which is a very difficult thing for a Yid. So as much as we explain it, still in the essence and the depth of its soul, no explanation can satisfy it. Therefore, it is only a matter of Kabbalah's oil, like we say, Nasa before Nishma. And the same thing we said, this Tzadikim Daim L'Bayram, Eden reflect in a similar way above, that Hashem's desire for this world, as much as there are different explanations given in Nigla, the inner part of the Torah, still in all, it's something that defies logic. Afatayv is kinkashanit, there's Avim, that Hashem desired to have this world. He wants to have a home down here below this world. This means that it's something beyond logic, something that's not logical whatsoever. And then the Rebbe went on to say that this journeying that Klal Yisrael goes through, and it's a matter of descent, and it's a matter of something that's very painful, it touches the essence of the soul of the Jew, is also reflected in the 42 journeys that every single Yid goes through. That the Baal Shem Tov says that just like the Yid in the wilderness went through 42 journeys, the same thing every individual in his lifetime, every individual Jew in their lifetime is someone that has to go through these 42 journeys, and 42 journeys will involve, the way it says, the way the Rebbe says, suffering and pain, and it's not something that a person can say, no, it's not painful. It is painful, and you cannot calm the pain of being away from Hashem, because this pain of being far away from Hashem is something that touches the essence of his soul. Now he's going to go and elaborate more about the whole concept about the vine being transplanted from one place to another place. So we're on, again, the third paragraph, the fourth page of the copy is page 280. In the notes of the Tzemach Tzedek on Tehillim, ala Kotzev, on this pasuk in Tehillim where it says, Geffen Mitzrayim Tasiya, mevayer tes eifanim bebiur ha'ilui shebebeis natiyas. The Tzemach Tzedek explains 9 ways of what advantage comes about in these 2 plantings, meaning the oikrim oisim emakim zeh, that we uprooted from one place, v'shoislam oisim emakim acher, and we planted in a different place. So Tzemach Tzedek explains 9 advantages. Now, the Rebbe says in the brackets, he's saying parenthetically that this is something very unusual in Mamorech Chassidus, even by Tzemach Tzedek. V'zeh davar pelo bilti rugim b'drush Chassidus. This is a wondrous thing, is something quite unusual in Mamorech Chassidus. Afilu b'drushik vaytus admar Tzemach Tzedek, even the Mamar Tzemach Tzedek, sheyimna tes eifanim bebir inyan echad, to enumerate 9 ways in explaining one particular topic. The Tzemach Tzedek, he said, especially even the Tzemach Tzedek was known in his Mamarim to bring in from many different, like type of mefarshim, from the Farshman Tanakh, and so on, and then go through all of them. But even for the Tzemach Tzedek, that's known to bring in various medrashim and various mefarshim in his Mamarim. Even for the Tzemach Tzedek, this is like unusual to bring 9 different ways of explaining one topic. And not only does he go through 9 different ways, he even enumerates. And he writes after the first 2 ways, he says, Eifen Gimel, a third way of explaining this transplanting and the quality of it and advantage. Eifen Dalet Chulu, there's a 4th way of explaining it. Ad Eifen Test, until he goes that there's a 9th way of explaining it. So Tzedek feels the need to point out that there's 9 different ways, and he needs to enumerate. So the Rebbe says it's very unusual. It's not, the Rebbe doesn't explain it or whatever, but he just says it's something that stands out. After the brackets, let's continue to what the Rebbe is saying. And the 9th matter, that the 9th explanation, the 9th concept and advantage that he says about the transplanting of a vine from one place to another place. What does the first place indicate? What does the second place indicate? In based on the the idea of the 2 plantings is similar to what's explained by the Alter Rebbe in Torah, but Pirush Alcha Gam Ol says that Hashem told Yaakov Avinu when Yaakov Avinu was unsure about going down to Mitzrayim, when he discovered that Yosef was there, so Hashem told him, you should go down to Mitzrayim, and then Hashem told Yaakov Avinu, I will raise you up, also raise up. So the Chazal discuss why does it say a double lashon. So the Alter Rebbe brings down that there's the double lashon of ascent. That Hashem promised Yaakov Avinu after going down to Mitzrayim, the double ascent. Aliyah Ha'alef, the first ascent that the Yidden went through is Matan Torah and Niglas one. And it's the revealed giving of the Torah, which took place on the 6th of Sivan in the year 2448. The second ascent is the revelation of the inner part of Torah when Mashiach comes. And for these 2 ascents, these 2 advantages, these 2 qualities, Sarich Beis HaNetiyas had to be twice that we were planted. In other words, we have to have this traveling around, we have to have this transplanting, this movement, this golus. What's the twice planting, the twice golus, the twice traveling? Golus Mitzrayim and Golus Achri. Both Golus Mitzrayim enabled that we should be able to receive the Torah. And then this final exile enables us and prepares us for being able to receive Pnimius HaTorah when Mashiach comes. It's similar to what's explained over there in that mimer of the Tzemach Tzedek, and the first man in the Tzemach Tzedek, when he explains the first explanation of the advantage of moving around the vine from place to place. He explains it over there according to what's explained in Tanya and Chinuch Katan, the introduction, the Shar Yichud Ve'emunah, Bezel Shoyne. This is the quote from the Chinuch Katan. That Chinuch Dol Yoidim, the Alter Rebbe says, it's known to those that know, time of the Quran might exceed, whichever Yipol Tzaddik will come. The reason and the explanation of the Pasuk, what it says, that 7 times that Tzaddik will fall and he will rise. So the Alter Rebbe explains that this is the nature of the tzaddik. What is this falling? Especially that a person is called a traveler, and he needs to proceed and progress from one level to another level. And therefore, the Alter Rebbe explains, between one level and the other level, before he reaches a level that is higher than he was previously. He's in a way that he fell from the first level. In other words, when he's in between levels, he doesn't have the quality and advantage of what the Alter Rebbe says, the love of the lower level, and he doesn't have yet the love of the higher level. It's like climbing a ladder that to be able to go up to a higher rung, you need to leave go of the lower rung. So this tzaddik is in a transition from one level to another level. And therefore it's called a nefila. So it means that between one level A and level B, that's why the tzaddik falls, because it's not that he stops being a tzaddik himself, but it means he doesn't have neither the higher level nor the lower level. Then the Rebbe goes on to say in the brackets, in commenting on this idea, though the intention and purpose of this tzaddik falling is that he should be rising. In other words, why is he leaving go of the lower rung? Why is he leaving go of his previous level? Not because he's divorcing himself from the whole system, but rather there's a purpose. It's a descent for the sake of an ascent. Mikolmach, still in all ace atal fisha temporarily, matzav, top of the next page, yipol tzaddik, that the tzaddik falls. So therefore, the tzaddik is always considered a yipol tzaddik become. We say that he's falling to be able to reach higher. This is similar to what we said about the transplanting of the vine from one place to another place, but in between, it's not in the state of growth. In between where it was before and where it was next, now it's just not growing. It's outside of the ground. Though the purpose is to have growth afterwards, and in a better way, just like the tzaddik, the intermediate level between the two is to improve that he should come higher. Now, this is what Alter Rebbe says in the introduction to Shaykh V'Emunah, known as Chinuch Kot, and the Tzemach Tzedek comments and explains what the Alter Rebbe says as follows. Top of page 281, Mevair coming over there, where the Tzemach Tzedek brings the Oifen HaAleph, the first way of understanding the transmission, transplanting from one place to another place. According to what is explained in a different Maimer, Alter Rebbe and Torah, titled Mareim Maseim, the Inyan Rab Zeira taught some Meyatanisa. Rab Zeira fasted 100 fasts, the Yishkach Talmud Bavli, that these fasts would cause him to forget Talmud Bavli, B'rdei sheyuchal achar kach lekabel Talmud Eretz Yisrael, for the sake that he should be able to afterwards receive and study the Gemara of Eretz Yisrael, Talmud, what's known by us as Talmud Yerushalmi. So we find an interesting thing. He was a great scholar, a great sage. He knew he knew Talmud Bavli, and the way he knew it was such an intense fashion that the manner of Talmud Bavli would have disrupted and disturbed the way how he understands Talmud Yerushalmi. And he had to work and do this exceptional type of avodah to leave that behind. Now, we could ask ourselves, what happens in between those two periods? When he forgets Talmud Bavli, but he hasn't yet started learning Talmud Yerushalmi. He's like this in-between level. He's been uprooted from one place divine, and he hasn't been transplanted in the other place. Like the tzaddik that's leaving one level, and he hasn't yet attained the other level. He says on the third line on the page, the nimtza ben time to shochach Talmud Bab comes out in between. He forgot Talmud Bab, Titan Shalom Talmud Eretz Yisrael before he studied Talmud of Eretz Yisrael. He was in a way of falling from the first level, or madrega and he didn't yet arrive on the higher level. Yet, despite the fact that this seems to be a negative, but it's a yerida, it's a descent for the sake of an ascent. This falling that we call it Sheva Yipol Tzaddik become, that the Tzaddik falls, and then he rises up, it's a necessity for the ascent that's going to be later. You don't go of the rung of the previous ladder, you can't go up on the previous rung on the ladder, you can't go up on the higher rung on this ladder. So now the Rebbe is going to apply this concerning the demands that Rabbeim and he himself, Friedrich Rebbe placed it on Chassidim to leave, to uproot, and to transplant somewhere else. Even though in that process of leaving and uprooting, they will be lacking in the interim, just like the tzaddik, and just like Rab Zera, and just like the vine, that's missing in the time in between the first and the last stage. It says in the second paragraph on page 281, so it's concerning directives of my father-in-law, the one whose Geula is on Yud Beis Tammuz. The Dorash, they demand that there should be the spreading of the wellsprings in Yiddishkeit. Though the idea behind it is to travel, he needs to leave, and that also means descending from his place in Torah and Daven. He doesn't have the yishmak of being in a place that you catch a minyan anytime and you have multiple shiurim going on, etc., etc. Thinking back to my days in Los Angeles versus here, Mikol Makim, Davkai Dezeh, actually is from Mitzrayim Tasiya. Only through this descent and being uprooted could it be that you will have that travel, meaning the traveling is that he will go out of his own limitations and boundaries. Any questions before we go on? You? Third paragraph on the fifth page of the Mimer, page 281. Since it has to be the vine, you made travel out of Mitzrayim, lots is related to go out and to descend into the world. A person could ask, where do I get the power, the spiritual energy, the capability to be able to do this type of avodah, this traveling into Golus and so on? Concerning this, the above mentioned medrash is that we spoke about the trellises or those wooden types of fences upon which we put the actual vine upon. That the mahagef and Yichayev and Hashem all eights and mason, just like a vine. It lives and it's supported by dead pieces of wood that's used to make this type of support system, that it should be able to get sun and grow high, because otherwise it would just collapse to the ground. So the Yidden live on it and it exists by their support system. What's the Yidden support system? V'nishanim, they get support and they lean upon. Allah Mesim, on those that have passed away. These are the forefathers called. Remember, like it says, Avram, Yitzchak, Yisrael. Remember, for Avram, Yitzchak, and Yisrael, this capability that there should be this idea of traveling kumea ovis. The forefathers give us the capability that even when we have this type of transitional situation where we are seemingly losing the power, we are being uprooted from point A, and we haven't yet been transplanted in point B. Like Rab Zayda that forgot the whole Talmud Bavli, but he hasn't yet learned Talmud Yerushalmi. The tzaddik that left his lower level in Avos Hashem, and he hasn't yet attained his higher level. Still in all, the energy of the Avos is what keeps us going to be able to make this through and reach the ultimate. Yet. Now, if you remember, we said there's multiple medrashim on why a yid is likened to a vine. So we said about the vine improving by movement. Another likeness to the vine is the fact that it's supported by the dead piece of wood. And another thing about the vine, we said, and a similarity between the yidden and the vine, is how they don't crossbreed with other fruits. The same thing, the yidden don't crossbreed with the other nations. It says in the fifth line in the second paragraph, third paragraph, since a yid through his descent into Golda's Tzarich Arab Beina Umas needs to mingle with the nations. Yisrael and Kifsach has been Shivim Zev and Bechulu, and Chazal even say that this mingling is to an extent where it's like a terrible type of way. We're considered like one lamb amongst 70 wolves. Therefore, it's not just any type of mixture, it's a mixture that threatens to completely subsume us and destroy us. In the Alzheimer concerning this, the Medrash explains the Magya from Makablar cover Minachra, just like a vine, is not receptive to crossbreeding from another species, another type of fruit. So too, the children of Yaakov do not accept any type of crossbreeding from any other species of fruit. The kavu aloi bottle, because something that is established, something that's set, does not become bottled. This is a famous thing. It's brought on halacha, brought on the Gemara, that even though in general we say that there's a concept of called bittul beroiv, that if you have a majority, so then the minority becomes nullified in the majority. But in this case, there's no bittul beroiv. In our case, there's no bittul beroiv because in our case, by Yidden, it has a certain exception. The exception is we don't say bittul beroiv when something is set and established. The example the Gemara says is, let's say if a person finds one piece of meat and there's 9 kosher butchers in town and only one non-kosher butcher, so you go according to majority. Because called the parish, merubah parish, anything that leaves the store, we're saying that it came from the majority. But if I walked into a store and I don't know if I walked into one of the 9 kosher stores or I walked into the single non-kosher store, so then since the kosher and non-kosher stores, the doubt began at the place. And the place and those stores are called kavua, they're established, they're set, they're not but. Same thing, Yidden are called kavua, they're called set, they're called established. Because of that, even though there's the 70 wolves around us, still in all, the Jewish people do not become batul because we have this quality of being called set and established and powerful in our own right. Gam bisman hagolos, also in the time of exile. The golus has to do with the number 9. So the Rebbe connects us back to what the Tzemach Tzedek said. There's 9 different ways of explaining the transplantation of the Yidden, which is likened to golus. Because golus has to do with the number 9. Do as it's known, Shekol and Yom Shadlias HaMashiach and the misprotest, and all the matters until the coming of Mashiach are in the number 9. Look at my Para Aduma, Muveres Parshas, saying like Para Aduma, that's explained in Parshas Chukas, The Chazal say, Asher Teisha Paras Adumas Nasum Shnitztava Mitzazu Ashachar Abayis B'Shniyah. The 9 paras were made, 9 red heifers were prepared from Moshe Rabbeinu's red heifer until the destruction of the second base of Mikdash. Series in the 10th para, the 10th red heifer, Yasa Melech HaMashiach Meiri Golom King Yirotz. That will be done by King Mashiach. He will be speedily revealed. Amen. So it should be the will of Hashem. The Cain who be'eser shiras. So too it says concerning the 10 shiras. There's 10 songs of praise, because Az Yashir, and also in our parsha it speaks about the shiras habe'er, the song over the wellspring of the rock. So it says that there's 10 times throughout Jewish history where Yid said shira, 9 times. The shira asir is Tialos and Love. The 10th song will be Mashiach comes. So too it says in the 4th month and the 9th month, and the city was breached. That in Tanakh it speaks about the date of the breaching of the walls was on the 9th. So again, the number 9 has to do with gold. I'm not going to go into 17th of Tammuz versus 9th of Tammuz. It's a totally different discussion that Rebbe speaks about. But we see again, Goldus is connected with the number 9. Still in all, so the Rebbe continues after the brackets. I'm the Misrael, the type of the Kabbalah, so serious nefesh, my believers follow, and from Maneva Akit, Eden standing with the strength, accepting the yoke of heaven, and self-sacrifice without becoming affected by any obstacle and anything that stands in our way. Though they find themselves amongst the nations, they are a nation that dwells apart of Kasha. They're not taking consideration the goyim whatsoever. That's the meaning of kavua. They're set and strong in their ways, and therefore they're not bottled. Through that they come, that sure, that confident, alone sits the image of Yankiv. They will reach a level of the aloneness that Hashem is alone beyond Seder Ishtalshus. Is going to be when Mashiach comes. So by us being alone now, we will tap in when Mashiach comes to the ultimate aloneness and uniqueness of Hashem. By days of Shem to become a skufa through standing with an upright stature. Often the Kaim is in the way of standing upright and strong. Like explained before, that they are not affected by anything. This is something that I've spoken about the previous Fabrengen in that year. In a middle top of the last page, measure for measure, Nimshuk loss love by from Gazette comes down the future when Mashiach comes in such a manner. The Vayilach I will lead you upright, and those who taste from it before Shabbos merit. In other words, meaning that even before the Golos concludes, we should taste of this uprightness. Even prior at the end of the time of Golos, we taste from this uprightness of Mashiach's times, and this power not to become affected by our surroundings come from the forefathers. Brought down the Medrash, the Kamat fills his fall Aliyo Bahara Carmel. That many tefillas, the Aliyo Navi David at the Hara Carmel, where he had the challenge with the Navi Habal about the fire coming down from heaven, etc. And he was davening that the fire should come down and consume his carbon as opposed to the carbon of the Navi Habal. And as soon as he mentioned those that had passed, in other words, the Ovis and so on, immediately Hashem responded. Yo is the one that will foretell the coming of Mashiach. And so to Moshe, that he's the first Redeemer and he will be the final Redeemer. Even as soon as both Eliyahu and Moshe Rabbeinu mentioned the Ovis, immediately they received their response. Like it says, that Moshe Rabbeinu daven, remember for Avram Yitzchak Yisrael. Days of Boy Megula Mitzvah Shlem, because of Mamish through this we come to the true and complete redemption soon.